Okay, sorry about that. The video just interrupted me while I was talking, and anyways, we're on to part 2, so of the video at least. So we were working on this problem and we wanted to get rid of those fractions. So we multiply everything times 5. And we need to multiply every term times 5. This term, this one, which I wrote wrong, and even 26 times 5, which was 130. Okay, so here's the tricky part. We're trying to do 5 times a mixed number. And well, usually we would do 3 times 5 plus 2, 17 fifths. We would make this improper. We would put 5 over 1. We would multiply across. But it sounds like we're working with fractions again, and we were just trying to get rid of them. Well, there's an easier way to do this multiplication. We can do 5 times 3 and 2 fifths by really just multiplying the whole number part first and then the fraction part. When we have 3 and 2 fifths, the mixed number, it's really 3.
I need Andres Martinez to the office to leave.
It's really 3 and 2 fifths, 3 plus 2 fifths. So it's kind of like a little distributive property question. We have to do 5 times the whole number, and we have to do 5 times the fraction part. Well, 5 times the whole number is 15. When we do 5 times the fraction part, 5 times 2 fifths, well, that's when our fractions go away. When we do 5 times 2 fifths, because when we multiply by 5 and divide by 5, we just get 1. So just the 2 is left. Okay, so we did 5 times 3 was 15. 5 times 2 fifths is just 2. That means really we just have 17W. It's kind of some mental math. Okay, so on this one, again, we're doing 5 times a mixed number. So we have to do 5 times the whole number part and 5 times the fraction part. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 4 fifths, that's when the 5's go away, and we just have 4. So we're doing 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 4 fifths is just 4. So really we just get 9W here. Okay, and all of this is less than or equal to 130. We can combine our like terms. 26W is less than or equal to 130. We can divide by 26. We're dividing by a positive value, so we don't need to flip that inequality sign. 130 divided by 26 is just 5. So W is less than or equal to 5. This problem was challenging. We had to deal with fractions, and that can make things more challenging. I mean, think about all the things that we've been learning. Working with fractions, working with distributive property, working with equations, working with inequalities. It's like everything comes together in this one problem. But we have all the skills we need to solve it. Okay, so another thing that we can do now that we've learned about how to work with maybe more complicated inequalities is we should be able to look at the solution to an inequality and identify errors. This is going to help us with our own problems, and it's good to be able to find mistakes. So first we need to find it, then we'll describe what happened and correct the error. Well, why don't you pause the video and see if you can find it yourself. All right, so the best way to really go through and try to find an error is to kind of go through the steps just like you are doing that. And you can write it out and go through all the steps, or you can really just kind of read and go through it step by step. Okay, so what did they do first? Well, they should have been doing distributive property, negative 16 times z and negative 16 times a negative 3. Well, negative 16 times z is negative 16z, and negative 16 times a negative 3 is positive 48. So that's okay. What do they do next? It looks like they combined these like terms, these constant values, and got 60. And then they didn't write it, which kind of makes it hard for us to follow, but Looks like they subtracted 60 from both sides. So that negative 16z was still here. And then 21 minus 60. Look in this area and see if you can see an issue. Well, 21 minus 60 is going to be a negative answer. This should be a negative 39. And it looks like next we would divide by a negative 16 on both sides. We're dividing by a negative value. Did they flip the inequality sign? Good. Okay, so again, that was supposed to be a negative 39 the whole way through. When you think about getting the answer, we're dividing by a negative, so we should get a positive answer. So the error was that they did 21 minus 60 was 39. And we know that that's actually supposed to be a negative 39. All right. Pause the video and look at this one. See if you can find an error. Okay, it looks like first they combine the like terms. 3h plus 5h is 8h. Then we should be doing some subtraction to both sides. I like to write it. This is going to really help us check our work and see if we can find the mistake. Negative 23.4 minus 8.6. Yeah, that's a negative 32. Okay, what would you do next? Divide by a positive 8. The error is in this section. Do you see it? We're dividing by a positive 8. So we shouldn't be flipping the inequality sign. This should still be h is greater than or equal to negative 4. Only when you divide by a negative value would you flip your inequality sign. All right. Last one. Okay, so your friend says that the solution of 2 times the quantity m plus 3 less than 10 is m is greater than 2. So the value of m must be greater than 2. Give a counter example to show that she is incorrect. So this answer here is wrong. It is not true that m must be greater than 2. It's not the right answer. Well, all we have to do is give a counter example, and we will have proved that she's wrong. Okay, counter example. We've talked about this before this year, but it's been a while. We all know what an example is. A counter example is like the opposite of an example, like a bad example, like a wrong example. If we want a counter example, we want to think of some example of a number that would prove that she's wrong. So it's like an example of a number that doesn't work. So she's claiming that m must be greater than 2. Can you think of a number greater than 2 that doesn't work? Because if we can find a number greater than 2 that doesn't work, then her statement is incorrect. She can't claim that the number is greater than 2 if some of those numbers don't work. So pause the video and see if you can come up with a counter example. Okay, so let's see. Well, I'm just going to try a number greater than 2. 10 is greater than 2, so I'm going to let m equal 10. Okay, so if the number is greater than 2, it should be true that 2 times n plus 3 is less than 10. Is it true that if m is 10, then the statement works? Or I'm sorry, is it true that if m, our value 10, is greater than 2, does this work? Is this true? No. 26 is not less than 10. So I have a counter example. The value of m as 10 meets the requirement of the answer. So if I found a number that's greater than 2, it doesn't work, this answer is definitely wrong. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow in class. Bye.